besties. Welcome to the Nurse Aspect. Today on the show, we have Daisy.
Hi, how are
Welcome
you?
to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
This is exciting.
Yeah, I know.
I know. So again, welcome to the Nurse Aspect, where we assess and evaluate. Welcome, Nurse Daisy.
Thank you.
So, how'd you get your start into nursing?
Okay, so to make a long story very short,
Oh, okay.
this is actually my second degree. So initially, I graduated from York College. It took me 12, I graduated in 2012, but it took me 7 years to graduate.
Okay.
And I just
Wow.
because I would like leave school and then come back, take one class at a time. Then
It'd be
come
like
back.
that sometimes.
Yeah,
Life be life.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I graduated in 2012. I was
Mhm.
working at a hospital as a secretary. I was working in the ER, and that's how I first got exposed into nursing. And I started working with a girl. She went to the school that I eventually ended up going to. She's like, "Oh, I'm in this program. I'm gonna get in. I'm pretty sure you'll get in too." And I just started taking all my prereqs because when I graduated with my first bachelor's, I graduated with a 2.2. Like I barely made it out.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
what was your first degree in?
it's called interdisciplinary studies with like a concentration in psychology.
Okay, well then you know what? Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interdisciplinary studies is just like a fancy word for liberal arts, but
I was about to say, so what can you do with that degree? Like, where would you be able to
it's
go with that?
literally collecting dust. I don't even put it on my resume anymore.
No, but like, where could you like? What could you do? Like, are we working? Like, you get your degree in that, and you're working as what?
You could do anything. It's a BA essentially. So it's
Okay.
kind of like it's pretty much an arts degree. So you can work anywhere. You could work like in an entry level position. You can work in corporate if you wanted to, but if you worked in corporate, you would probably have to still keep going up with that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I started taking my prereqs. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ace all of these things, and I feel like God's timing is the best timing because
You better say it. You better come. You came to church.
because honestly, I think that if I went to nursing school at the time that I was like my freshman year of college when I was 18, I would have failed out first semester. I didn't
Okay.
have the focus. I didn't have the mental determination to do it. I was just like, I didn't have the discipline back then.
Yeah.
So after I saw how hard I had to work to get to graduate with that first degree, I was like, let me start off strong. So if my grades do drop, I'm not working my whole college degree trying to build it back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the prereqs, got all A's in the prereqs.
Okay.
And then I went to nursing school and they only took 32 people.
And he was one of the 32.
Yes.
Come on, accomplished. Come on, favor.
No, but you want to know something crazy too? I was working full time. First, I was offered a full time night position where I was working. And I was like, oh, nights and going to school, that's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then my manager calls me into the office the next day and she's like, actually, the person who we offered the day shift to, they declined it. So do you want the day shift?
Wow.
And I said, yes. So
Wow.
it worked out perfectly.
Talk about timing.
Yeah.
Talk about God's timing.
So I was
Okay.
working full time in nursing school while I was going to nursing school at night. It was hard, but I did it.
I know that's hard. I've been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I did it. I was working nights, so I
Ooh.
completely I get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you finished graduating and stuff like that, and then where'd you go?
So while I was in nursing school, I already knew like I want to get my experience and kind of just travel. Like that was my thought process. So initially when I graduated from nursing school, I wasn't able to work at the hospital that I was working at when I was in nursing school because I graduated with an associate's. And there they only took bachelor's. So the manager from the hospital that I was working at, she actually hooked me up with a job at GI Center. I was working there. I worked there for a year and a half. So basically what we did colonoscopies, endoscopies, small colorectal surgeries, some like gastric sleeves and gastric balloons, I think they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it really set me up because it was good when I developed my IV skills while working there. I was able to develop my rapport with my patients, kind of manage my time. And I got good experience. I don't ever say any of my experiences were like bad or anything, but it definitely helped me. And I was going to school for my BSN while I was working there too.
Okay, wow.
Hmm.
Wow. So you was kind of like in school, working
It
like
was a
the whole
hustle,
time.
girl.
Yeah,
It was a
listen, I'm
hustle,
not
girl.
mad at the hustle now.
But then while I was working there, then I was like, nah, I need more money. So
Okay.
that's what I so I found a radiology job on the side,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working there on weekends. So I would have off Saturdays and Sundays. I would work at the radiology place on the weekends, and that was basically able how I was able to supplement my income.
Mm-hmm.
So I was essentially working 7 days a week.
That's crazy.
I
Just
know.
a fresh out of nursing school, a baby out of nursing school, working
I
seven
was
days
just a
a
small
week.
baby.
Wow. But you like that kind of shows you like, how much hustling is out there. How there's money always to be made.
Hmm.
And that's great. What did you like about GI, or what did you hate about it?
So the funny thing is, when I initially went into nursing school, I was like, I don't want to deal with any vomit, any poop,
Mm.
nothing, no bodily fluids.
And in nursing,
I
was we you were
I was delusional.
okay? You was living in the Delulu.
Yeah,
That's
I was a
okay.
little delulu.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
I, you know, can't do vomit. Still to this day, I can't watch someone vomit. I have to turn around.
Mm.
And I can't like in the poop. But I got into GI, so essentially it was kind of clean
Mm-hmm.
because everyone does a prep first.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
definitely true. They do the prep part, ain't the fun part.
Yeah,
Yep.
but most people are clean. But we've
Mm-hmm.
had a few accidents, so
Mm-hmm.
that was fine. Honestly, I didn't have any like real dislikes other than management.
Okay.
I do feel like some places that you can work, they kind of tend to keep you down as far as your development as a nurse. They want to
Okay.
keep you in that same space, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they felt like since they did me that favor and gave me my first job, I owed them,
Okay.
or essentially that's how I felt,
Okay.
and it just felt like I was getting held back a little bit.
Okay. And what about the radiology place?
Radiology, if I could, I would go back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know you was gonna set up to say that. Okay.
No, 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 no. But it's not for the reason that you think.
Oh, okay.
It was just a nice, cushy position. You learned a lot, but it wasn't as like hectic as bedside.
Mm-hmm.
It was very like tame. It was
Mm-hmm.
calm. All I did was I would see patients, ask them their medical history, do their vital signs, and throw an IV in. 18, 20s, mostly 22s. And then that was it.
All
And
right,
then the
so
CT tech did everything.
well, now nurses, if you want to get a job out there, you're looking for a side hustle. Radiology looks like it's the place to be. So shoot, I might as well put in my application now.
Mm-hmm.
Right after I get out of here, stop playing with me.
I was about to say, look into it. Yeah.
I definitely will. You think I'm playing? I have like 18 jobs.
Yes, I'm telling you, it was so nice. The only reason why I left was because I moved to California.
Okay.
So that kind of leads me into
So what happened in California? You left New York, you left the Big Apple for Cali.
okay. So we got to back up a little
All
bit.
right, let's take it back.
All right. So while I was working at the GI place, I started putting in my application to different facilities to try to get into I was just trying to get into the hospital. I didn't really care like
Mhm.
what specialty it was. I knew I didn't want to do med surge, but
Mhm.
that's just personally for me. Because
Mhm.
while I was in nursing school, I would cry about
Mhm.
it. So I was like, I was applying to ICU, ER, L&D, essentially every other specialty outside of med surge.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of interviews, got a couple of like hard rejections, like a
I mean, it happens.
yeah.
Life.
I
Yeah.
know it was they were teaching moments.
Mm-hmm.
So I got called by one facility 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I already knew in my head that was probably the facility I was meant to start in because there's no way you calling me
Mm-hmm.
4 times. One of the times they called me for a GI position actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I essentially went there, I went on the interview and I was very prepared. I made sure I had my questions written down, like questions that had to do with the unit, not
Mhm.
questions that had to do with like, where do you guys park
Mm-hmm.
and what's good to eat around here? Because
Mm-hmm.
I said that on an interview
Mm-hmm.
before. So
What?
yeah, I'm actually like embarrassed about
Wait, no, no, no. We're not gonna skate by that.
that.
You did what during the interview?
I asked I asked them like, where do you park around here? What's good to eat around here? Like, definitely didn't do my research about the facility like at all, at all.
That.
And after the interview, she was like, make sure when you go on your next interview that you at least do like some research. And I was like, okay, so they're not gonna call me. And
That
that
was
was
preparation for the next time, though. So
exactly.
that was good. That was a silver
The sad
lining.
thing is I kind of did that again on another interview. I was asking like, oh, how is it like working here? Like, no one's really gonna tell you
the truth.
yeah,
really.
the truth. They're gonna
Right.
say, oh, it's great, and
Yeah.
you're gonna think, oh, it's great, and it's like terrible.
It's actually not. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to the interview for the job that I essentially got out of GI, I asked a bunch of questions.
Mm.
What's your patient ratio? What kind of training
That's
do
the
you do?
right question.
Yeah, I asked the right question. What's the patient
Okay.
ratio? What kind of on-job training is there? Is the ability to advance like there? And the manager was literally smiling the
Eating
whole
it up.
time.
Eating
She
it up.
loved it.
Yeah.
She loved it. And then I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
And I'm like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, this is how much confidence I had that I was going to get this job. I went the next day to the car dealership and bought a car.
Oh.
Because I was that confident that I was going to get the job. Because I was like, no. Like, and then when I didn't hear anything, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be working 7 days a week for my whole life to pay this car payment. Because my car payment was like stupid high. But they eventually called me and they offered me the position.
How long did it take for you to get the call?
3 weeks.
You're crazy. I'm not buying a car if I don't have a solid foundation.
That's what you say, you're led by God.
You know what?
Because
And maybe that's what I need to do more often.
sometimes
okay?
you gotta move like it's already yours,
And
and
that's
that's how I
fine.
was moving.
Yeah.
That's how I was moving. I was like, okay.
Okay, Daisy dropping words, okay, y'all? Daisy is dropping words at the church of the nurse aspect, let me tell you.
No, but honestly, I was just like, no, this job is mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the call. They were like, okay, your starting salary, because it was union.
Okay.
So, with union-based jobs, they don't really have like a set price they always have a set price of what they start their nurses off on.
Yeah.
They were like, it's okay, so we're starting you at $50 an hour. And back then, that was what, 2016, 2017? I was like, okay. But I was like screaming in my head, like, oh my God, this is so good. This was like the most money I've ever seen in my life. Started calculating, it was like $90K plus a year. In New York in 2017, I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. So I was like, yes, I can afford the car that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I started in L&D, and the rest is history.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you worked in L&D at a facility.
Yeah.
And then when did you do travel? Like, how'd you get there?
So I started traveling in September of 2019.
Oh, so before the pandemic.
Yes.
Okay.
So
what made you do that?
Honestly, I just felt like I needed something new. I just felt like I needed to spread my wings. I've worked at the same facility for a long time. I still love all the people that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I needed to do something else to challenge myself. And I worked in a big facility in the city, and then I went to a small rural hospital on my first travel assignment, and that was a culture shock.
Okay. How long were you working at your facility before you got your travel assignment?
I was working there for 2 years exactly, like
Okay.
1 year, 11 months. It was something like that. Yeah, it was.
All right.
And I applied, and a lot of places wouldn't give me jobs because they're like, to get your first travel assignment is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna go for the more experienced nurse. Usually, the hospitals that take you is probably like one of those that you're gonna have to like learn a lot. Like, it's not like easy.
Okay.
So I I started working there, and it was like such a culture shock. I went from a facility that did like 400 or 500 deliveries a month to one that did like 100 a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. There would be days I would come in, not even a triage patient would come in.
Wow.
Yeah, there were no patients on the unit. It was nice, but at the same time, like when it was busy, everybody was like busy.
Mm.
And that was kind of where I realized that I know a lot, but I didn't know a lot
Okay.
about my specialty.
Okay. I feel like you learned in your travel assignment.
Just the autonomy of it all.
Okay.
When I was a labor and delivery nurse in the hospital, like as a staff, they didn't let you do a lot. You know, checking patients, putting in internals, doing things like that. That was all done by the residents. So essentially, your hands were tied because of the residents. Whereas these small rural hospitals, you didn't even have a doctor on the unit most times. So it was just you. You're managing the care of the patient.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you just call the doctor when the patient's crowning.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're checking the patient, you're putting in those internal monitors, you're using your discretion and everything to do those things. And it was a culture shock because it's like, oh, okay, like I have to do all this. The first time I had to do it, the patient came in, she was preterm labor, and the doctor was like, so check her. I was like, what do you mean check her? Like, check her cervix and see how dilated she is. It's
I'm like,
okay,
me?
me? When I tell you the sweat was like raising up on my back, I was like, I don't know what to do. But this facility, I feel like I was lucky because I actually linked up with a nurse there. I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. But she taught me how to check patients. Like, she actually sat me down, got like a little dummy and was like, this is how you check patients. And I just practiced every patient that I would have. I would check them. I would have somebody check behind me. And that was essentially how I learned how to do everything, honestly.
Okay. I mean, it's great when, like, I'm glad you were able to at least get someone to be able to teach you. Sometimes bullying, you know, on the floors be extra real. Like, you know, people don't want to help you for no reason at all. And it's like, how did you learn? Like, you know, you don't have to. Maybe if you had it tough, doesn't mean that you have to make it tough for me. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna be a good nurse. So that's great that like you at least had that. You know, sometimes I always say like, you know, you might not remember the name of your nurse in general, but you remember how they treated you
and how they made you feel.
Exactly.
And essentially, we were all new ones, right? Like, so I would never treat a new nurse like they didn't know any better or like they were stupid or anything like that. So I am very grateful that she took the time to even teach me because honestly, you know, she didn't have to. She essentially didn't have to.
That's great. That's great. And now when I am blessed with a child, I know I can call on Nurse Daisy to be like, girl, you want to check me to see how far I am? Because I don't want to go to the hospital. I actually can. I will get you some sterile gloves, okay? How long did you travel for?
So at that facility, that was also in New York. So I traveled there for 6 months.
Okay.
So I think at the end of that 6 months was the end of my lease at my apartment that I was living in. And I was just like, okay, I don't want to stay in New York. I know I want to go to California. I had already applied for my California license like maybe the year prior.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had already set it up. I was already ready.
You wasn't playing on games.
Yeah, I had a plan in my head. It was just, I wasn't ready to take that leap. So finally I was ready to take the leap, found an assignment, my recruiter found an assignment for me, and I signed everything. And then the next day, everything started shutting down because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, is this a smart move? Am I doing the right thing? So I tried to back out of it, honestly. And my recruiter was like, no, that's not really how it works. Like you signed this contract.
You already signed everything.
Like you have to be there. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm about to go across the country by myself
in the lines. Then don't even know what's going on.
I didn't know anybody in I mean, I knew people in LA, but no like close friends in LA. Like nobody that could be like, oh, my sister lives there. Like, no, I knew
you're going by yourself.
Yeah, and during the middle of a global pandemic. You gotta
hop on a petri dish of a plane to get in a petri dish of a state to like on a new assignment in a place where you don't know anyone. Like
Hmm.
that's crazy.
And
Like that's
essentially, like, no one even really thought COVID was real
yeah.
when I worked there.
Mhm.
They kind of thought it was like a thing.
Mhm.
But when I was actually flying over there was like maybe like 20 people on the plane. And one girl had a full hazmat suit on, but I didn't even look at her. I was like, girl, I already
You
know
was
you.
traveling with Naomi Campbell? Because I feel like that's exactly her.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not even mad at the fact that you came in a whole hazmat, like yellow hazmat
I'm
suit.
not even surprised. Like it was very wild. I avoided planes, so like I knew you had to do it for your assignment. I
Mm-hmm.
get that, but I'm not even mad at Shorty being in a hazmat suit. She don't know what's going on. Neither do I. Neither do you. Let's get the plane moving because I want to
Exactly.
get off. Clearly,
Exactly. And then
yeah.
all you heard was a coughing. I
Oh my
was
gosh.
like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Lord knows when a nurse hears you coughing, we're looking at you like
Yeah, like
you got
what you
under
got?
control
Yeah,
because
you
it's
good?
giving sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like you good? You good?
yeah,
You good?
yeah.
So finally get to California,
Hmm.
and I'm not gonna lie, I cried for the first 2 weeks I was there.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh,
like I was so lonely,
oh.
and I also, funny enough, have like crippling social anxiety. Like I failed classes, like a couple of the classes that I didn't do well in my first undergrad degree. I failed because I couldn't go up to a person and say, "Hey, do you want to work on this project with me? Hey, do
Really?
you want to be my partner?"
Wow.
Yeah, I was. I'm terrified to go. I was terrified to go up to people and like engage and talk to them.
That's crazy. And you went from that to traveling to checking your patients. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my
I'm telling
gosh.
you, travel nursing like changed my life. It changed my personality, changed who I
Wow.
was as a nurse. I just am so grateful for it.
Wow.
So when I first started at this hospital, worked in downtown LA,
Mm-hmm.
and it was there's a bunch of hospitals in downtown LA, but it was definitely a culture shock for sure compared to New York. I said, I'm from New York. I can handle anything.
Mm-hmm.
California is different.
What made it a culture shock?
These people are weird.
I mean, it's highly weird.
I
Are we
know. I
surprised?
mean, technically, yeah.
Yeah.
So the nurses were great. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love the nurses there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You talking
that's
about the patients are weird, or like was it you
the
talking about
the patients
employees?
were weird.
Everyone.
The patients were weird. The people that I met on the street were weird. They was just
Okay,
weird.
give me an example of like a weird patient.
Well, oh
What
man.
if you could try to muster up one weird patient?
Okay, I'm gonna try,
Okay.
but I don't want to get your podcast banned. But let's just put it like this:
Okay.
I had a patient. She was about to deliver, and her the father of the baby, I guess, tried to bring a gun in the hospital
For why?
because I guess he gangbang or whatever he said. I always got to keep that thing on me. I was like, who exactly? Who's getting you in the hospital? Who getting you at in the labor and delivery?
Okay.
Yeah. So the hospital has metal detectors, so that's how we knew. It went off, and they were like, "You gotta leave that in the car or something." He was like,
Might
"Oh,
want to pack that gap bag back there, sir.
exactly.
Sir,
Yeah,
I need you to choose a car seat or your or your weapon.
exactly,
And then one of them is coming in.
exactly."
Like,
And he did not want to put it back, but
wow.
essentially he did. He almost missed the birth because he was taking so long to come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Okay.
But meeting all the people there, like the workers were fine. It was
Mm-hmm.
just the patients. And then living in downtown LA, like I think as the pandemic went on, you could really start to see how it was affecting people mentally.
Yeah.
And I think that was more sad than anything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be coming home from work and literally be stepping over bodies of people like strung out on drugs.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
But it definitely gave me the exposure that I needed
Mm-hmm.
in order to like thrive in other places.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed there for 6 months, but that was essentially because there were no other, uh, no other labor and delivery travel positions.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, because once the pandemic started, everything got
Everything shut down.
no, everything got all the travel agencies just funded ICU and med surge.
Okay.
So they weren't really funding any labor and delivery. They kind of didn't think labor and delivery people got COVID. Oh, it was
I mean, I honestly, I feel like I mean, there was the same in New York. I feel like a lot of travelers that were coming in, it was definitely a lot of like ICU stuff. The ICUs were packed, to the brim, and like, and it would just trickle down. Like every floor would start getting COVID patients. We would try to like keep, like at my facility, we would try to keep patients like, you know, transplant patients like separate from COVID patients, but it got harder and harder. Like they were canceling surgeries, like elective surgeries canceled. Is
mm-hmm.
really like So I feel like that was every place that was kind of like doing the same thing until like yeah. Like, if anything, I feel like labor increased, because everybody's
Mm-hmm.
home now. So
Yeah.
now we're making babies.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I feel
now
like that 2021,
yeah,
2022,
them COVID babies.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy. I had a baby that like full on like went on their hands and like pushed themselves up and started looking out the
Them COVID
womb.
babies is something else. Let me tell you, something else. It doesn't even make any sense. Like what?
I
How are you
know.
doing this?
Oh
Like,
man.
yeah.
But it was just like I just felt like the pandemic was just really bringing out the worst mental health in people.
Mm-hmm.
And my next travel assignment, that was the first time I actually like was canceled slash like bullied out of a facility.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was
okay,
definitely because of the color of my skin.
okay.
Um, that I can't say like, oh, I've never worked in a facility where I was the only black nurse because I've always worked in facilities where I'm the only black nurse.
Mm-hmm.
That was never a problem with me. I get along with everybody. Like, if you respect me, I respect you.
Yeah.
I don't really have any issues as long as I know I'm taking care of my patients.
Mm-hmm.
That's priority to me.
Yeah.
And I went to this facility, beautiful, beautiful. And I just like moved into an apartment out there, signed a lease. Like I was ready to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at this facility, and I started noticing that they were doing a lot of like passive aggressive things. Like they would say, like I would get my nails done, and then they would be like this. Just a reminder, nobody should have nail polish on.
Oh, they made this. They made the announcement as soon as you got your fresh
Mm,
manicure.
yeah.
Were you
Well,
getting
I
like
think I think it
crazy
was
colors? Like, were you getting like acrylics, like stuff that was just like deemed ghetto or whatever?
no. I think it was they were like white nails like this.
Oh.
I think one time I did like autumn colors, so maybe like a brown burnt orange color. Like I did those, and it was nothing crazy.
Mm.
I didn't have charms on my nails. I
Mm.
wasn't doing anything wild, and I think they used it as a way for them to like single me out.
Yeah.
And they would do it like in like the huddles where everybody would stand around and they would talk about like, oh, no one wear their no one have nail polish on. Meanwhile, I'm seeing girls with like inch long nails. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay,
Yeah.
you're definitely talking
Yeah.
about me,
Right.
because she would look at my hand as she's saying it.
Mm.
And then, I kind of, while I'm charting, I kind of like keep an ear pod in, just like I'm listening to everything, but like it's just habit that I always keep an ear pod in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
And next day they were like, okay, just remember, I put an ear pod in. I was like, come on now. Instead
Yeah.
of you to say something to me,
Yeah.
like you're making like announcements,
Right.
like very passive. And then
Mm-hmm.
there would be times on the facility where there would be three patients and I would have two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, yeah. And there'll be like seven free nurses and they just be watching me.
Nah,
It,
that's
it,
wild.
it was actually
That's
crazy.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the breaking point for me, well, one of the breaking points was they called my agency and they said, is everything okay with Daisy at home? We see that she falls asleep on her break and she
On your break?
on my break, and she doesn't answer the call. Like, she's just not a team player. They asked if I was on drugs.
Pardon me?
Yes. And I was like,
Wow.
and I remember sitting there like, oh my God, I gotta go back to work with these girls who are literally trying to push me out. I
Yeah.
had to go back for 3 in a row at that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how am I gonna work 3 shifts in a row with these girls?
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I need to, let's see if I can make it through, because I was only like 6 weeks in. I still had another 7 weeks to go.
Yeah.
And I went for that 3 in a row. And again, it was only 2 patients on the unit, and I had both of them.
Wow.
One was a pretermer, and the other one was it was her second baby, and she wanted to go all natural. So the pretermer wasn't staying on the monitor, and neither was she, because she's moving around, thrashing around, everything. So I'm running back and forth between both rooms, and I'm watching them at the nurse's station, just watching me laughing.
Did you ever say anything to them? Like, hello, did somebody want to come and take a patient? Or
No, I think I still didn't have a voice for myself yet.
okay.
I don't think that I was ready. I was still new. I was still a fairly new travel nurse. I didn't want to rock the boat too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? In my warped mind, I thought that working harder meant that they'll notice that you work hard, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So basically, I was in the patient's room who was trying to go natural, and I'm trying to move along with her, hold the monitor up so I can hear the baby's heart rate. And someone came in the room, and they were like, "Oh, I was gonna cover you for break." I was like, "Yeah, let me just get her settled, and then I'll come out and I'll give you a report." So maybe 5 minutes goes by. I'm looking on the other monitor. Nobody has went in my patient's room to touch her. They'll just be like, "Oh, Daisy, your patient's off the monitor," as they keep talking amongst each other. That was pretty much what would always happen.
Yeah.
So I came out the room to give her a report, and I'm telling her about the patients, and she's like, "Oh, so let me just ask you a question." I was like, "What's up?" She's like, "Am I just gonna have to get on the floor and hold a monitor like you were doing?" And all you heard was all the nurses behind her, like, like the very
Cackling,
the cackling laugh.
clicky
Yeah,
laugh.
like
Yeah.
I was like, "How old are y'all?" I was like, "Are we in middle school? Like, I'm getting ridiculed because I'm trying to take care of my patient and actively manage my patient care. You know what? You see how it is when I'm gone from my break, and you tell me how easy it is." And I just kind of shoved myself at her, and I left and I went on my break.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say anything after that, but I was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I waited until my manager came in the next morning, and I was like, "What's wrong with your staff?"
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I was like, "You guys have an issue here. This is a toxic work environment. I don't feel welcome here. I don't feel like I belong. Like, I know I'm essentially a traveler, but I'm coming to help you guys out, and I just feel like this is bad." And she's like, "I have this book," and she held up a book. She's like, "I have this book, and I'm gonna show you guys how to, show everyone how to work well in the workplace." I said, "A book isn't gonna solve this. This is a deep-seated issue." And she said, "Well, then I don't think you would be fit. You're a right fit here then."
So what happened?
They canceled me.
What?